If you have a strong feeling about this fight, I need you to do me a favor. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, what you need to do, rate and review the show. Give us a 5-star rating. We'd certainly appreciate it. If you're on YouTube, toss a like, but then, this is what I want. Throw it down below in the comments section. I want to know who you have between Khalil Rountree and Modestas Bukauskas, because this is one of those fights that's really hard to try and cap. For Khalil Rountree, he came into the UFC, he could wrestle a little bit, he could strike a little bit, he was an interesting and tricky southpaw. He has nice wins by knockout over Gokhan Saki, over, who else? Eric Anders. He beat him by decision, but he almost finished him because that was a true warhorse, Khalil Rountree. But what I want to do in this video, normally we do it when it's the fighter's first time out. This is really Modestas Bukauskas' fourth time out with the UFC. I'm going to throw it back to a rookie review before he fought Andreas Michailidis, so you can get a little bit of a taste of what Bukauskas really is special and good at, because he is a tricky striker when it comes down to it. I mean, if you look at Modestas Bukauskas, he's beaten some notable names, some guys that you might recognize from maybe not just the regional scene, but a guy like Marcin Wojcik, who's competed for KSW's light heavyweight championship against Tomasz Narkun. He's taken on in his last fight a tough out in Ricardo Nasiglia in a fight where he faced a little bit of adversity, weathered the storm, and unleashed Travis Brown elbows and got the win there. This is an issue for Modestas Bukauskas. He gets taken down fairly easily. And I know Wojcik is a bit of an outlier. He's a guy that can do that to a lot of good fighters. But Bukauskas so far defending the takedown, not that great. But the good thing for him is he does the opposite of like a Khabib. He's one of those guys where it might be rinse and repeat for the opponent, but Bukauskas is able to get back to the fence, get back up to his feet, and strike, and he's such an unorthodox striker. So there's a reason why I threw it back to a rookie review for Modestas Bukauskas, because you look at it, in his first fight against Michailidis, it's weird. He throws those elbows Travis Brown style. Michailidis falls through the cage door. It ends up a TKO win at the end of the first round. Then he goes out and he gets knocked out by Jim Crute. Well, that's fine. That was 10 months ago. Then he takes on Michael Oleksiejczuk, and he loses by split decision. But did he really? He did. No, he didn't. I mean, I went back, watched that fight. I scored 2 rounds for Bukauskas. If you look at it, Ron McCarthy and who was it? Tony Weeks, they said, yeah, it was 29-28 Oleksiejczuk. Over on MMA decisions, Matthew Wells, friend of the show, had it 29-28 for Oleksiejczuk. 16 other voters had it 29-28 for Bukauskas. One had it 30-27 for Bukauskas as well. It really comes down to how you scored that second round. I know numbers-wise, it is very close. On the rewatch, I could understand where if you judged it based on Oleksiejczuk's pressure, maybe you gave him a round.
He lands more power shots.
He lands shots, but they don't actually get through the guard. But for me, I look at that fight, I had it for Bukauskas, so either way, he could be on a 2-fight losing streak, or he could have won one back and he could be 2-1 in the UFC. But ultimately, he's pretty well fighting for his job in this one. Same can be said for Khalil Rountree, who, against Marcin Prachnio, looked lost in the first round, came back in the second round, and then let Prachnio take over in the third round. It was a weird one.
Are we going to get K1 Khalil or not? That's my question, because K1 Khalil Rountree, the guy who fought Eric Anders, is a handful.
He was a minus 400 favorite, I should say, too, against Prachnio. And Prachnio was on that 3-fight streak that included zombieing and getting knocked out by Sam Alvey.
The problem with Bukauskas is that he hasn't been the same fighter that he was outside the UFC that he is in the UFC. I don't know if it's octagon jitters, I don't know what it is, but I don't feel like we've seen the same fighter who we were promised at least after that Michailidis fight, because Bukauskas is a really interesting fighter. He's tall, he's rangy for the weight class, he's great at fighting backwards, and that's why the Oleksiejczuk fight is close, because he's moving backwards a lot in that fight, and he is eating shots, but he's countering effectively off the back foot, and that's really what this fight comes down to. Bukauskas, it's weird. He's almost better fighting backwards than he is moving forward, but Khalil Rountree Jr. doesn't always give you the pressure that you would like from Rountree. When Rountree is using those leg kicks, setting up his left hook with the right straight, those are things that would slow down that movement of Bukauskas. I just can't rely on Khalil to throw those techniques, fight in and fight out, because like you said, look at that Prachnio fight. He has okay success in the first round. Yes, he does look lost, but still, when he lands on Prachnio, when he does throw his hands, he wobbles him every single time. He has Prachnio doing the Kevin Lee chicken dance every time he lands a strike. But the issue is that he goes for the knockout kind of in the second round, throws like 4 power shots, and then it was very similar to when Yorgan De Castro broke his foot against Greg Hardy, and no one really knew that he broke his foot yet. It was just like, okay, why are you standing there not doing anything? That's kind of Khalil in that third round against Prachnio. Prachnio's moving forward. He's doing just enough to win the round. And even Rountree was upset like he was Sam Alvey after that fight. He thought he won. But my issue is that when you don't do enough offensively to justify a win, you can't complain about the decision afterwards. Khalil Rountree's offensive output really is the issue with his whole career, because when he is the guy moving forward, did you think he was going to beat Gokhan Saki? I certainly didn't. But when he's moving forward, pressuring his opponents, the power shots are more likely to land. So this fight really does come down to, how much of Michael Oleksiejczuk do you think Khalil Rountree is? Personally, I don't think he has the same technique that Oleksiejczuk has, and I don't think he has the cardio. Even though Oleksiejczuk's cardio can be kind of shaky, I still feel like he has at least steady output throughout 15 minutes, where Khalil Rountree, he might be great for 3 minutes and then fall off a cliff for the next 7. I just don't really know what I'm going to get with Khalil Rountree. With Bukauskas, I like his backward movements. I do like his kicks, too, in open space. And that's what I really think is going to come down to for Bukauskas. I think his output is just a little bit higher than Rountree's. And I don't think he's going to be hit by that big power shot from Rountree.
It's really, really tricky when you look at it. I mean, you focus on the knockout losses that Rountree had. Johnny Walker, Yeon Kutselaba, he loses that one by finish. And then, of course, the fight against Prachnio. Huge favorite, and Prachnio was on a wild losing streak where, like, we were joking around. It was almost like Muradov taking on Mearshart, and didn't that striking signatures just take a bump? But
people were looking at Prachnio the wrong way, and he was getting knocked out in the early part of his UFC run. That's why it was so surprising to see him eat power shots from Rountree and keep moving forward afterwards.
So you look at it. Bukauskas just lost against a southpaw in Oleksiejczuk. Khalil Rountree, he's a southpaw himself. The odds for this one, Bukauskas open a plus 136. The line corrected off the hop. He's a minus 156 favorite right now. Rountree open a minus 150 favorite. He is a plus 128 underdog. If we look at the Topology votes, not really that close. 521 total votes. 69% Bukauskas, 42% by decision, 51% by knockout. For the 31% that have Rountree, 28% by decision, 71% by knockout. So there is a decent preponderance of people out there that think that there's going to be a knockout in this fight. I have a really hard time with this one. I mean, does Rountree walk him down, knock him out? Is he able to do that? Will he implement a little bit of wrestling? Because that's a big key. Bukauskas' defensive wrestling is not good at all. And if I could focus on any fight, and I did it in the rookie review, Ricardo Nasiglia was able to take him down and take him down and take him down. And then Bukauskas, up against the fence, is able to do enough work to finish him. But Bukauskas, not a great wrestler. He struggles when he's good at backing up, but sometimes he struggles against some of those shots. And the Rountree of old, the Rountree coming in off the Ultimate Fighter that somehow made his way to the finals to lose against Eldiarte Sanchez.
Can't really wrestle.
Yeah, not really the greatest a wrestler. I mean, even statistically, if you look at it, Rountree hasn't landed a takedown in the UFC.
He's a terrible grappler.
50% defense, so we'll see what happens. I mean, again, height-wise, reach-wise, those keys land in Modestas Bukauskas' favor. So if you're making a pick, the guy that's more active, it's really tough.
It will be the guy who's more active, and I think that's Modestas Bukauskas. I really do. It is weird, because for such a big guy and for such a natural striker, he doesn't really have that one-punch power that you kind of expect from his frame at 205 pounds. So if there is a finish, it more than likely will be from Khalil Rountree, but I do like Bukauskas' staying power. He was able to eat some pretty big shots from Oleksiejczuk, and that's a big power puncher at 205 pounds. So I do think he'll be able to eat whatever power shots Rountree is able to land, if he is able to land any. And I do think that the range that he keeps in between him and his opponent is really going to cause issue for Khalil.
Rountree's a guy, I didn't really mention it, but he beat Eric Anders after going to Thailand, changing his stance a little bit. And then he comes out of King's MMA, and he hasn't looked as good. Now he's at Syndicate training kind of full-time, so we'll see how that goes. Check out his Instagram of him rolling over bouncy balls if you want to see how athletic the guy is, because it's insane. I'll ever so slightly edge Modestas Bukauskas, but again, both of these guys eat a lot of shots, and they give out a lot of punishment as well. So if the forward pressure of Rountree is able to take over, and he is able to eat at that lead leg of Bukauskas, we'll see a giant win for Khalil Rountree. If Bukauskas is able to win, I think it's going to be by decision. I don't think he's going to knock out Khalil Rountree, who has been susceptible to the knockout, but it's more so out of those one-punch guys, out of the guys that are a little more well-rounded. So I'm going with Bukauskas here, representing England and Lithuania, but it's not one of the more confident picks on the card.
The loser's probably going to get cut, and that sucks to say, but these guys really are fighting for their UFC careers.
This is like Alvey Turman levels here.
It is. I think Modestas Bukauskas can be able to get it done.
Both of us going with Bukauskas. In this fight, we've got a great card, and down a weight class at 185 pounds, you have Brunson taking on Till in the main event. You're not going to want to miss that video, so keep locked in, and as we always say, let's get into it.